Alright, we'll go part 2 here of our real world Quadrajet rebuild. You know, it's what bums me out about this is I actually had this engine running maybe a year or so ago, and it was not properly winterized. Look at the primary metering rods aren't even moving. This accelerator pump is jammed in here. I can kind of feel it wiggling. Look at the metering rods up here. Just terrible. So we're gonna have to, this is gonna take some time, and we're gonna have to do more than just a refresh on this. Right now all I can really do is keep hammering it with some cleaner. Now if I were doing this the way things are done now, and I do use it, you would use an ultrasonic cleaner, and I'll tell you what, those ultrasonic cleaners are worth every penny, especially when you're doing this kind of stuff. But I'm doing it this way so that you can see somebody that maybe, now see, I'm opening up these rods here. You couldn't even see the holes at the end of these vacuum rods a few minutes ago. So I'm doing it this way because this is the old school method, and if you're going to try to tackle this type of job, this is what you're probably going to be working with is regular tools, gum out, and your basic, you're going to need needle nose pliers, a crescent wrench, although I would always tell you never ever put a crescent wrench on one of these, but it's okay for this application. This is going to have to be replaced. No question. That's just unbelievable. Because not only because of the inside, but I think that it'll probably leak if I hook a fuel line to it. Although it wasn't leaking before, but it probably wasn't even getting fuel. Yeah, I had this boat running about a year ago. Sad state of affairs, man. We can't even move these metering rods at all. They're just jammed in there. So this is it. This is as far as the base plate goes, the base plate is what it is, and it's sitting in cleaner right now too. I had to pull the filter out with a set of needle nose pliers because it was jammed in there inside of this, right? And so I had to pull it out with needle nose pliers. So I'm gonna let this soak for a little while before I go pulling the metering rods out and the accelerator pump out, because I just want to let it, hopefully it'll loosen up some, and definitely clean it up. You've got to get all this gasket material off here, and you see all that brown stuff, that is basically varnish. That's what gasoline turns into, varnish basically. And it's all over this, it's all inside this thing. So we're gonna have to clean the jets and everything. It's gonna have to be done. So as far as reassembly goes, like I said, I've been using these guys exclusively for about 5 or 6 years now. They have never done me wrong. Always have really nice quality kits. So with that, there's our refresh kit. Although, like I said, this is going to take a little more than a refresh, but all these parts will be used in it. We may have to get, I don't know, we're going to have to see how these metering rods clean up, or if they clean up. We may have to get new metering rods in here, or hopefully I can clean them. I mean, they are brass, so you'd think they'd be able to be clean. These vacuum rods are certainly going to have to be open, and clean. All of this stuff is going to have to be clean before it can go back together and actually perform. Honestly, I thought the same as you're thinking right now. Yuck, Quadrajet, right? I was mistaken, and I found this out because I was going to replace my carburetor, which is a Quadrajet, with a big Holly 4-barrel, like a 750 Holly or whatever, right? And the guy said, what do you got on there now? And I said, well, I got a Quadrajet on there now. And he goes, well, why would you want to replace that? And I said, well, you know, there's bad reputation, Quadrajet. And he says, well, they had a bad reputation for leaking in the early days. The newer models don't leak as much. But as far as that goes, he says to me, look, that's the closest thing to fuel injection you're going to get without actually having fuel injection. And I said, really? And so he started telling me about it, and he said, well, by the way, Holley copied the design. They actually make a carburetor just like this, and they call it their Holley whatever. And it is pretty cool, especially for a boat when you have small primaries and big secondaries, because, man, when you're in a boat, you're burning gas, you know. Gas goes quick in a boat. So it's nice to just kind of have two barrels open when you're cruising, and then when you want to get some power going, I mean, you've got all the power you want to get. I mean, what more do you want, right? I mean, you got these massive secondaries, and if it's well taken care of and tuned the right way, and I'll get into that later on in another video, you'll have a great carburetor. I've got one on my boat, and hopefully I can make this carburetor great again, right? All right, see you on the next one.